What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Lore Reloaded. I am James, your wondrous and great lore master of the night. I am glad to have everybody here. Glad to see every one of you. Hey, if you're watching this video on demand, you know exactly how this is about to work. I'm going to hit you up with a couple of things. Check me out at twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. Of course, twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. Hopefully, be doing some of that tonight. May also be doing some live streaming as well. And with that out of the way, let's just talk to a couple people, see what's going on. Of course, we got 100% American Buffalo. How you doing? Super Game Freak 18, always a pleasure. Nathan Norman, Neil C. Apparently, Neil C. has figured out that my mom is a lie. Of course, my mom is dead, so possibly. We got Whisper Darkling, Muldog Productions, Josh Street, Everett Johnson. Don't know if I've said his name already, but hey, now that Everett Johnson is here, the party can commence. We can just get it started. All right, so let's kind of talk into it, and then I'll see what you guys got to say. Darth Revan, of course, making it. We got Gustav, Gucht, DV. As always, a pleasure to have DV here. So, I'm going to be doing a video, hopefully coming out today. May come out tomorrow at the latest. But if you watch my community tab, this is something we've already been talking about. But the question is the original series, according to Gene Roddenberry, was supposed to be Utopian, right? It's supposed to be this brave new world. We've moved past everything we're supposed to move. No want, no need, yada, yada, yada. Now, here's a question for you. With Victor Garcia has finally made it live, or Atakwa Tinga has also arrived. Now, Discovery, I believe, may have changed all that. Now, before I get into it, there have been a couple people who have made some very convincing counter-arguments on why this probably isn't the case, but it's still kind of interesting to talk about and to discuss. Which is to say, when we're watching the original series, are we watching a dystopian future after what happened within Discovery? Now, let me go ahead and put this kind of in there as a caveat. It is quite possible that there will be Discovery spoilers. So if you don't want to know what happens on Discovery, especially if your name's Logan, definitely don't be watching this, unfortunately. Bird of Prey 5, always good to see you. Trip the Trippy One, as always. Luke Favrouk, all hell the lore master. I completely agree with that. If it wasn't for Super Chats, wouldn't be able to do this. Thank you so much. So, did the war, the Klingon Federation War, I guess this would be the first Klingon Federation War? There's like 6. When they completely and utterly devastated the Federation, is that why we see a complete devolution of the technology? Is that why we see a step back, not only in technology, but also in standards? If you look how women, to a degree, are treated when it comes to being in command. Or if you look how the captains will look upon their subordinates and also be, I'll use the word flirty, shall I? Visha Divas in the house. Bird of Prey 5. Don't know if I said hey to you. Lord of Death Gaming. Visho Davis really didn't like my last video either. What's up with that, buddy? Visha Davis, what? No. You have been talking to the wrong persons. Please come with me. I know of a beautiful park full of kind people that will help you with your stress and explain some things. I don't trust your intentions, good sir. Bird of Prey, the biggest spoiler in Discovery is it sucks and it only gets worse as you watch. That would be the biggest spoiler, unfortunately. Of course, other than waking up to my wife and kids, you're a reason to get up in the morning. Well, thank you. Thank you. Other than waking up to your wife and kids, the audio's gone? Audio can't be gone. Other than waking up to your wife and kids, Trip the Trippy One, you're the main reason for me as well, good sir. Let me see if the audio is gone. Watch, that would be the biggest. Nope, audio's not gone. Why are you messing with me, Visho? Don't be doing that. There are a couple of things to break down, though, when we discuss this. So, some people will say, well, you know, and here's something to consider. I think it actually bolsters my theory. So a lot of people have come back when I've presented and said, well, the Enterprise was on a mission, wasn't around for a lot of the combat. Now, I'm not convinced that that's true, but assuming that's true, that actually bolsters what we see. Because when you look at the Enterprise, it looks like all of the other ships, which is to say, it looks like a betrayal of everything anybody who ever watched Trek was. It has the windows and all of that good stuff on it, right? However, if it's a newer ship that wasn't in combat, then it would make sense that it would look like the other ships up until they started having to upgrade it. Now, if the war with the Klingons was so devastating, 14K Liam, finally able to be here. I'll be doing night streams too, so those who can't make it. But if it was so devastated, they would have to rebuild the infrastructure, right? And if they had to rebuild the infrastructure, then wouldn't they have to use older parts? Wouldn't they have to use a regression until they could rebuild and be able to make the more advanced stuff? The one catch in this is generally during war, we see an advance in technology, not a regression, unless they're beaten to the point that basically the organization, the government, no longer exists. And I think that is fair. What's going on, Atheron? I think that is fair, but it's still an interesting piece to discuss. Whisper Darkling says they say they're on a mission of peace and exploration, but the Enterprise is flat out a war vessel. Yeah, I mean, during the original series, it's not just that. During the original series, they talk about being a war vessel. They talk about being soldiers. The Enterprise was specifically used and put on the front lines during any Klingon confrontation, even with the Romulans. So, their main goal may have been peace and exploration, but they did not hide that they were a ship of war that was ready to fight for the Federation. That's what I like about the original series. The original series, unlike The Next Generation, is honest about who they are. Nathan Norman, I cannot see the original series as a dystopia because we don't see it. We see colonies full of happy people and star bases that sat on the border being fine. That's a good counter, but how do you... Discovery is technically in continuity. It is technically canon. So how do we explain that? Did they just not destroy them and everybody got their stuff back? Everybody went to their corners again? Atheron, at what point did industrial replicators come into play? Those kinds of break the command and conquer economy, That would have happened later. Probably replicators would have existed. They were relatively new when the Next Generation came into play. They had to have been when we're looking at how events went, and we're looking at the movies. So replicators wouldn't have been able to help at that point. Well, the Constitution-class starships were obviously around before the war, as we can see from Discovery. Yeah, well, I mean, it was around, 10 years before Discovery went live or supposed to happen. But it could have been out exploring, too. Remember the 5-year mission, everything like that? So it's possible that they sent their Constitution-class ships out in every different direction, and then the war started, and those ships either couldn't get back in time, or they had to turn around and come back, right? So, I mean, that's something to consider. Lore Reloaded, isn't the Enterprise 25 years old by the time the original series? The ship should have been replaced long time ago as a flagship. That's possible. 25 years old seems old. It doesn't feel like it was that old. If you see a regression, it means that they have run out of resources to make new stuff fast enough, so they bring out the older weapons we see in World War I, and the fleets are the most valuable thing. I mean, wouldn't you say that would have occurred? I mean, look at the maps. For those who have not seen it, again, this is going to be spoilers. The Federation is just utterly annihilated. They have 20% of the space that they had beforehand. Everything's been taken away from them. At that point, they would have lost the dilithium mines. They wouldn't have been able to power the ships. they were losing. The Klingons were on the border of Earth. You could see Earth with a magnification from a Klingon vessel. That's how much they lost, that they were losing. So the Enterprise was like 30 years old. I would need to see... I have watched the entirety of the original series, so unless it's in the animated series or there's a throwaway line that I've forgotten, I don't remember it being that old. Hey, Laura, glad I was able to catch this stream, unlike yesterday where I missed most of it. Looking forward to a good stream. Well, Imperious Gaming, I'm looking forward to a good stream with you too, buddy. There were only 12 colonies by the time of the original series. They may have just had them spread out all over the Federation. Well, here's an interesting thing. If there were only 12 colonies by the time of the original series, maybe they had a lot more and the war destroyed all of the other colonies. What say you to that? Maybe the only people to survive the Klingon War were yuppie hipsters. I don't think so. The original series is actually... The one thing I like about the original series when it comes to the technology and the people is it's more realistic. When you watch the original series, unlike TNG, unlike Deep Space Nine, unlike anything ever, even Discovery, it seems to be done with a mind of how technology would work at that time. So I think that would have been very... I really like, again, I like the original series, how it was going. I think that the way they explain the technology, it seems more real for me. Thank you for agreeing to Anti's Quantum of Solace. His live streams are having a lot of fun with... Oh, yeah. What's funny is I've actually lost money because he started using stuff like that. But it's fine. He asked me first. For those who don't know, Anti-Tracker runs a stream, and there was there's a channel that cataloged a lot of what he and I did over the past 10 years, and we did a lot of stupid stuff, and so he's using that for his super chats. Thank you for wearing shirts on a regular basis now. Well, you're welcome, Mr. Miles. Now you're going to be required, if you ever want to talk on this again, to do a super chat, but you're welcome that I'm wearing shirts. What if the pajama uniforms were for to improve morale? How would pajama uniforms improve morale? Skirts I can see, not pajama uniforms. But yeah, so there's obviously a devolution in technology. And it's not just a visual medium or update, right? You can do visual updates and keep the base of what the technology, what the, what's the word I'm looking for? What the spirit is supposed to be. But they don't. They change things just carte blanche, and things that wouldn't have been, that haven't been explained yet. By the way, guys, we got about 57 people watching, only 20 thumbs up, 1 thumb down. Hit that thumb up button. Just do it. Just do it. Do it for the Enterprise. How do we explain that if there wasn't a devolution? How would we explain? And again, I know it's Discovery writers suck, blah blah blah, but let's just look at it from an in-universe. Let's try to put our thinking caps on and walk through it. Have you ever gone to work in your PJs, James? They is comfy. I have not. Honestly, with that point you just stated, I think during TOS they were recovering from the costly Klingon War, and the Constitution class was probably the only surviving ship class of threat. Now that could be interesting. Maybe the reason... If they sent the Constitution classes in every direction, right? And then the war happens, and the Constitution classes either can't get back in time, or... And they couldn't get back in time, or they got back too late. So all of the more advanced ships is gone, and that's what makes the Constitution ship the most advanced. That is an interesting idea. I think it really desecrates or does a dishonor to the original series, to the Enterprise, to Gene's idea, but it's interesting. On a pirated stream, someone is restreaming this. There's a pirated stream of this live stream? What if the Federation had to rebuild itself and gain new worlds, and by the time of the original series movies, the admirals who would be ensigns and so on would remember and hate the Klingons? I mean, it would make sense in some degree. It would make sense during the movies, especially during Undiscovered Country. That said, it doesn't make a lot of sense during the original series. They do not act like this massive war happened on either side at all. They don't act like the Klingons aren't boisterous. They aren't pushing. They aren't like, whoa, look at what we did, which they would be, because they were willing to attack the Federation both in spirit, in physical attacks, and in boasting all the time. And so the fact that they don't bring that up, the fact that you don't have more people who are ready to just destroy the Klingons, doesn't make a lot of sense continuity-wise, right? Andrew Gilbertson, I'll hit like for the real Enterprise, the ones who design it in the Smithsonian, not the Discovery nonsense. Okay. A lot of times, older tech is simply more reliable. A new car requires good fuel, while an old one can be tuned. The way I think of TOS is this, says Luke Farouk. The main planets are fine and civilized, but the further you go in space, the wilder the colonies and outposts become. Starfleet adapted to such areas. I mean, we see that in Deep Space Nine, so that would be true. We do see that in how Deep Space Nine worked, and in fact, the way the Admiralty treated Bajor and how Cisco calls him out. So I'm not against that. Visho says, devolution is a strong word. Maybe they lost key resources and focused on having better tech despite having less special materials. Not technically worse tech, only tuned towards other priorities. I don't know. When you compare the original series technology to Discovery technology, it's night and day. It is night and day. Now, there are some things that might make sense. Like when you consider the way the, the sarcophagus ship, how it could use that bright beacon that even the windows couldn't shut down, right? Then they use view screens. You could see the evolution there, which would make sense. It would seem like a downgrade. It would almost be like a Cylon consideration then. To fight the Klingons, they would take a step back in their technology. Huh. That's an interesting idea. I don't know. I don't know how much it stands up, but I don't hate it. So much that Luke Farouk coming back, so much so that they decided to bank on reliability, sturdiness, efficiency, even though that means have less shiny tech, BSG reimagined style, stick to what works best. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Anthony D, why did the Discovery have rave parties on the ship while the war was going on? Probably the same reason that they also had disabled members who had to be in wheelchairs on a object that was known for shifting left to right and knocking people who had too good legs over. Probably the same reason they did that, I would say. I mean, if I had to take a guess. Victor, you can't say just because they didn't mention it, it didn't happen. Otherwise, you'd have to throw the Enterprise into that as well. I don't know what you're talking about, Victor. If you can give me a little more understanding to that. Too bad Star Trek Discovery didn't go with the 4-year war from Fossa as the base for the show. Yeah, it's too bad they didn't go from a 4-year war from Axanar. That would have been a lot better, too. In the original series, there were pre-war planets in Federation space as if the Federation owned them regardless of their own desire to join or not. Example, a piece of the action. Yeah, it's interesting how the Prime Directive is applied differently. I would say that I don't know that the Federation believed they owned them, but the Federation definitively believed they had a right to the planet if they needed and felt obligated to defend the planet. Own, I think, would be a strong word. Darth Revan, maybe the Federation officers were in denial and rebuilding my family, when they came back from the war, went back to their farm, so maybe they are doing the same thing. I'm going to ask you to rephrase, Darth Revan. I think you said maybe the Federation officers were in denial and rebuilding. And so they focused on family, is what I think you're saying. Maybe. Kirk grew up on a colony where the governor tried mass murder. Yes, I do remember that. I still say the colonies are an experiment. That is why they were refit so much and why after a 5-year mission the Enterprise was rebuilt. The Constitution class seems like a response to the Klingon threat. Discovery removed. Just looking at the original series, the Constitution seems like a response to the Klingon and Romulan threats. And they seem like a show of power and a ship utilized for war if necessary. The trippy one, the NX-01 had a view screen on it, didn't it? So it is canon that Starfleet uses view screens. That I'm not so upset about if you're trying to say, well, why did they go to Windows? It's possible, because that was the United Earth Starfleet. So it's possible they had view screens, then they moved to the glass because of either innovation or other species used it, and then once they found out that it didn't work so well, they went back to the view screen. So I don't necessarily hate that. Mr. Miles, how much would it cost me for you to throw one egg at AT's house for every negative point he gives first contact? I'd probably have to talk to him, but I'm guessing $1 to $2 per negative. But I mean, I can be bought. I'll do that. I'll record it and put it on TV. I'll put it on this too. Real life example. We may have good space shuttles and research new rockets, but we still rely on the Soyuz ships. Okay. It would be the same with the Discovery. It was a science vessel refitted for war, much to the chagrin of many crew members. Well, the chagrin of one crew member, at least. One thing Discovery did well. I'll say this. One thing Discovery did well is generally showing the soul of Starfleet and what Starfleet was supposed to be versus what Starfleet had to be. I do like how you have people who are like, well, we're scientists, we're discoverers, we're explorers. We're not here for war. And then you have people like Lorca who are talking about, well, it doesn't matter what we are if we lose this war, right? That's one thing I do like. I think Discovery did well. What happens with the Prime Directive if a starship crashes on a pre-warp world? They attempt to limit the, not infection, they attempt to limit the contamination as much as possible. But I mean, it happens. There are episodes where it talks about it happening, right? So, Who Watches the Watchers is talking about contamination. What Discovery needs is a few exploding Oberths. Now, that won't do much for them. They need a few exploding phasers set on Oberth. Those actually do damage. Laura, have you seen the interior shots of the Enterprise that will be on Discovery next season? Anthony, you should have been at the last live stream. I actually had a live reaction to that. I think it's incredibly stupid and looks nothing like the Enterprise, inside of the Enterprise. But we'll have to see more. How much for a live stream of you and Anti playing Portal 2? I don't have Portal 2. I mean, I don't care. We could play it. Yeah, I don't like the interior of the Enterprise. The colors are too dark. The red striping existed on the Enterprise, but it wasn't anything as prominent as what they say it was. It was just, if you ask me, it was ridiculous to a degree. Laura, would you go broke if you threw an egg at Anti-Trekker's house for every negative point? Laura, would he go broke if he threw? Y'all, here's the funny thing. When you look at the Anti-Trekker's review, it has more positive than negative. In fact, if you added the negative and the middle, the yellow, whatever, the negative and the passive together, it still doesn't equal the positive. So I don't know why people say he hates it when quite clearly he's giving it more positive points. In the movie First Contact, they discussed how they would land the escape pods on a remote island and then stay out of history's way. Yeah, that's right. They would attempt to limit the contamination. Contamination is going to happen, though. There's no way you could prevent it. But they would do everything they could to not. A copy of Portal 2 and $3,000 cash. Done. Done. If you give me a copy of Portal 2 and you pay me $3,000, preferably through PayPal, because they don't take near as much as other mediums, then definitively I will be more than happy to do, and we'll play the entire game in one sitting. Yes, the D7 prompted the production of the Constitution class. Okay. I think they tried to make it look all dark, future sci-fi, and went way overboard. It just looks so... I think they don't really care. I think they tried to modernize it, and they think that it's going to be okay, people won't care. It might be me, but the sound level is way down. Well, other people let me know. No one else has complained about that, and this is the second time someone has tried to trick me on my sound levels. If it is too far down, I will be more than happy to raise it, but just let me know. No one else has complained, though. What's Discovery? We talking about the space shuttle? Yeah, Don, we're talking about the space shuttle. Yes, the Klingon invasion leads to rationing. Replicator tech is coming. Replicator tech doesn't come until way, way later. It seems everyone forgot there's a Vulcan walking around on Earth pre-warp. Well, yeah, but I mean, they don't know much about that. Hey, you want to say something?
Oh, you're going live?
I am live, in fact. I told you that.
Oh, I thought you were dead.
No, do you need something?
No.
Hey, are you sure?
Well, I want you to get me into this, but I know you're busy.
Oh, yeah, I'm busy, so just play something else, okay?
And then maybe later?
Maybe later. You can hate a movie and give it good marks. It's called pandering, says Mr. Mouse. So you think the anti-trekker is pandering, is what you're telling me. I don't think it is. I don't think it's pandering at all. I can raise my level. Y'all should have told me. Hold on. Wait for it. Wait for it. Don Juan has been a part of the channel for a long time. Apparently decided to become a lore master again. My levels are all the way up. I don't know how you guys are going crazy, but hold on. Testing. Testing. 1, 2. Testing. There you go. Should have been a lot better now. Have a little bit of background noise now. Let me lower it just a little bit. There we go. Well, if the sound was okay, it's going to be running. It's going to be blasting in your ears in just a second. Tasha's homeworld was a failed colony. Okay. As for live streams, I think the most adorably amusing would be a round of Settlers of Catan. Okay. Don't make her leave so you can curse at the... I didn't make her leave. I didn't make her leave at all. Star Trek Discovery feels like a generic paint by numbers sci-fi. I would agree with that. I think it is a generic paint by numbers. By the way, guys, let me know if it's ever too soft. I'll be happy to turn it up. Whisper Darkling, it's not pandering at all, talking about Anti-Trekker doing his review of First Contact. You can dislike something and put your own opinion aside and focus on the good things. Yeah, I think he's just used to... I don't know. I think he's just... he likes to highlight the critical points, is what I think. Mr. Miles says, yes, I think the good marks Anti-Trekker is giving First Contact because he's pandering to his audience. He knows most of them like First Contact, and too much negative will cost him subs. Ha! Oh, man. So there's a couple of things to that. Let me say this. First off, if you think he's pandering because he doesn't want to lose subs, then you don't know Anti-Trekker, like, at all. The other thing is that that's easily disprovable, because if he was more worried about subscribers, he would be doing less live streams and more... videos. The subscribers count has somewhat, he's still doing good, but it's definitely stopped as much as it was since he started doing those live streams, and I think he's aware of that. I don't think he's worried about subscriber growth as much as you think he is. Narwell Newman says, I'm a big Trek fan, but I just can't bring myself to watch Discovery, even for free on Netflix. After Star Trek Into Darkness, it seemed to be going for that style. Is it worth it? I would say you need to watch... I would suggest watching up... I don't know. I wouldn't pay for it. I couldn't suggest paying for it at all. If it's free on Netflix, I would watch at least up to mid-season just to see if you like it. Know that, in my opinion, it gets better up to mid-season and then just completely tanks after that. But if it's free, you don't lose anything by checking it out. So, I don't know. I would not pay for it, definitively, at all. I pay for CBS All Access because I have to, because I need access to every one of those series, and that's the only place I can get it. So, I don't Uh, it depends on what you want out of Star Trek 2. I don't know. Look, I'm not anti-Trekker, and I can't speak for anti-Trekker. The next time he does a live stream, you should probably approach him on this. So, me talking on it is just me giving my opinion, and it's secondhand at best. But, all that to say this, Bird of Prey 5 says, Anti-Trekker said flat out in an earlier video he hated First Contact. I don't ever remember him saying that. He's never said that to me personally. Now he says he likes it. I don't care either way, but it's weird he felt the need to change it. I don't ever remember him saying that. Would you like to see the first Miranda-class ship launch in Discovery Season 2, and they mention it as a workhorse ship? I mean, it would be interesting if they saw the first Miranda-class. I think that'd be... I don't know how... That might break canon a little bit, but it would be interesting if they did... Like, they had the USS Miranda, and they were talking about how it's the newest ship and things. That would be interesting. I wouldn't hate that. See, that's the thing. I don't hate what Discovery could do or where it could go. Laughable Larry, keeping the truth real. We all know Laura's opinion is right and everyone else is wrong. Thank you. I appreciate it. At least you now admit it. I think there's a lot of fun things you could do. So, showing the first Miranda class, maybe even having the first Miranda class save the day, though I don't think they'd do that, could be very intriguing.
What are you? A monk?
Bird of Prey 5, helping out the channel. Thank you so much.
What are you? A monk?
73 people watching, only 43 thumbs up. What's up with that? What's the best show on CBS All Access? There are no good shows on CBS All Access at all. CBS All Access is the devil. I can't stand that I have to pay for it. It is horrific. I would not suggest it for anybody. That said, I guess if I had to pick the best show, it would be Deep Space Nine. The only reason I use CBS All Access is for the for access to the Star Trek shows. I don't look at any of the others. I don't want to support anything that's on CBS. CBS can. It would not. You know what would happen if CBS went bankrupt and the entire company was dissolved? I would pour myself a glass of Chardonnay. I would walk out to my deck. I would sit down. I would take a sip, and I would smile. And that's exactly what would happen, because I would know at that point that God had shown himself to me. And I would know that God was real and that he loved me. Dreas, wow, someone who agrees with me. My brother thinks Discovery is amazing, but I kind of feel it's just so now they can go anywhere in the universe. What's to discover? And that would be interesting. That would be, if they actually did that, that would be fun. But again, spoilers, 3, 2, 1. They decide not to use the spore drive, even though they have access to it. And, which seems kind of stupid to me. The Federation must have had a similar situation. Don Juan, I just talked to God. He doesn't love you. I know God doesn't love me. CBS is still a corporation that exists and is still siphoning money off of me and is copywriting one video a day now. So, I know God doesn't exist for the moment. The Federation must have had similar situation to many of the nations during World War I, where the nations were scrambling to get resources where they can get it. Like when a constitution appeared in Discovery. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely feasible. And that's kind of what we were talking. The only way for that to work was to have the infrastructure completely and utterly devastated. Now, the one piece to that is that when... the only problem to that is when the Federation recovers and you now have the infrastructure back, why didn't they didn't lose all of the knowledge. And so you don't have a huge brain drain, right? I don't know. The Star Trek shows are on Netflix and Discovery is on at 8 a.m. Not all Star Trek shows are on Netflix, Darth Revan, at least not in the United States. There are a couple... Quite a few that aren't, actually. The only place I can go to get every Star Trek show is on CBS All Access. I promise you, 100%, I would not have CBS All Access if I could get it somewhere else, legally. And I can't. So CBS All Access is where I gotta go. I'm hoping that by the end, the Discovery winds up spore driving itself into the Triangulum Galaxy and burning the thing out. Hopefully. Hopefully. Lore, then what greedy company would get Star Trek rights if CBS goes belly up? Man, the best thing that could ever happen to me was for Disney to gobble up CBS and Paramount. That would be the best thing. Disney has never given me any issue. Disney likes that I promote their products. They go out of their way. The best thing that could happen would be that. I don't know that Hulu does. I looked at Hulu. I have Hulu as well, and I don't know that they have all of them. But even if they didn't, I need access to Star Trek Discovery. But I mean, it's possible. Do you think Discovery is a Section 31 ship? I think it started out as a Section 31 ship. I don't know that it is a Section 31 ship. Not anymore. Everything points to it being a Section 31 ship. And if they know what the hell they're doing, they'll write it as a Section 31 ship. How interesting would it be? Thanks.
The moon just went behind.
Thanks, Gabriel. Really helps out the channel. How awesome would it be if Lorca was with Section 31? He was the only one that was with Section 31. Discovery is a Section 31 ship. No one else knows, and Section 31 comes back for their ship, and that is an entire season. How interesting would that be? Man, Whisper Darkling, if I see one Disney princess on Star Trek, that's it, I'm done. I swear to God. The first thing... If Disney bought them and then put Snow White on the Enterprise, I would sell it like it's hot. I would, without hesitation, talk about how awesome it is to have a Disney princess on a Federation starship. If for anything but to get rid of. The Federation would like France after the Franco-Prussian War. The Federation would be like France after the Franco-Prussian War, build constantly for war with the Klingon, teaching their children to hate the Klingons, building up nationalistic hate. I could see that. I could. CBS knowing what they are doing with Trek. They don't know anything that they're doing with Trek. They know how to piss people off with Trek. Netflix does not have the original series, which I need access to as well. Do you think Discovery can make a comeback in Season 2? Yes, I do. If they involve the USS Enterprise, it's teaching a new style of Federation policy. I don't know about that, but I think that Discovery can redeem itself. And yes, I know Princess Leia is a Disney princess. Again, I'd be more than happy. I thought it would be a Section 31 ship with the black badges and 31 in the registry could have been an interesting Easter egg. I think that it would be great to have it as a Section 31 ship. I think that's what they need to do. Netflix UK has all Trek. Fantastic. I wish Netflix US has all Trek, but it does not, unless... Discovery teased the Black Delta that could possibly indicate Section 31, and then they were never seen or spoken of again, at least not to my knowledge. The Black Delta is so anti-Section 31, it makes absolutely no sense. Hey guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to be this secret organization, this secret thing that no one else is going to find out about, and then we're going to wear black uniforms and black deltas around Starfleet officers. No one's going to know. It's ingenious. Laura, did Janeway have a right to interfere with Species 8472 and the Borg? Did she have a right? I don't think the Prime Directive would have applied. That's they're both warp-capable species. I don't think getting involved in that unless you had to was a good option. I don't know that she didn't have the right to do it. Netflix plays all 5 Star Trek series. I have it here in the U.S. They lack the movies, but none of the series. Okay, they don't, but okay. So the Black Delta is the emblem of the Federation. Is the Schutzstaffel emblem? I don't know what the Schutzstaffel is. The registry number is the date of Halloween. Brian Fuller chose it, but I don't know if it is a reference to the movie or the day. If Brian... If Brian Fuller didn't realize Section 31 was a thing, and Brian Fuller did 1031 because it was October and it was the 31st, Brian Fuller shouldn't be doing anything to do with Star Trek. Brian Fuller should go back and do something else. He should, I don't know. Maybe he would be good on the Teletubbies. Maybe he should do Teletubbies Reimagined. Brian Fuller, if he didn't realize 31 would make people think Section 31, Brian Fuller is not good at what Brian Fuller is supposed to be good at. That is my opinion on Brian Fuller, if this is true, doing the October 31st. And that's all I have to say about Brian Fuller. Okay, well, maybe they added it, because I couldn't find it a while ago. All of that to say, I have to have access to Discovery as well. Was Laura about to blow when he was talking about Brian? Yes, I was, in fact, about to get very hostile. I know not subtle, but if they went the Section 31 route, it would have been far better and made more sense in how they act. Although they could commandeer the ship for nefarious reasons in Season 2. I would, so I give a lot of guff about the black deltas and the black uniforms. I do think that's stupid. A Section 31 ship with the NCC 1031 though is excellent. I would love that. I think that'd be fun. You're right. It is kind of a giveaway, and I don't know that I would do it in real life if I was head of Section 31, but still. I think that would be pretty cool to have. I'm not, Sean O'Neill, I'm not saying you're wrong. If Trek Yard said it, I believe it. They do good research, but that's frustrating to me. I'm trying to think, I'm trying to think of a good example. So for those who watch Power Rangers, it would be like a new Power Rangers coming out and a dog being named Zordon. And when asked about it, they said, "Oh, I just like the name Zordon. It sounds just out of. There's nothing there. It just sounds like Zordon." It shows the lack of knowledge of Star Trek, of the history of what you're writing about is so bad that it's disrespectful. And maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion, but I think that if he didn't realize that 31 was from Section 31 and all of the history at that point that we have on Section 31, he lacks so much knowledge. He lacks so much knowledge about the history of Star Trek. It's disrespectful. And that someone who's more knowledgeable should be doing what he's doing. Or he should gain more knowledge about it. You know, anti-trekker from the future, ask and ye shall receive, buddy. Ask and ye shall receive. Prepare sick lore. No, you're not blowing it out of proportion. Hey, Laura, I'm guessing I've messed up so much. I've missed so much. Why aren't I being notified? You can try hitting the button again and seeing if it does it. I've heard people have unsubscribed, subscribed, and hit the bell, and that fixes it, but I don't know. I think they should have a ship come up, and they say we're being held by a ship number 31, and all the computers go black, and the ship goes into lockdown, and they're boarded. That could be interesting. I don't know how I'd feel I don't know how I would feel about. I don't know how I'd feel about that, but that would be. So you have the Discovery. So here could have been an interesting thing. Instead of the Enterprise, and I know why they did the Enterprise. They were pandering, talking about that. But instead of the Enterprise, the last episode, the last season, the season finale, has the ship coming up. And so it's like, we're getting a distress code. We don't know what it is. And so they start doing the registry number again. And it is, instead of 1701, it's 1031. And so this ship that looks exactly like the Discovery, that would be interesting too, that looks exactly like the Discovery, comes out of warp. And the next thing they say is they're looking at it. It's like, hey, they're sending some kind of strange code. I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, it says, I don't know, code black or something like that, like they're going to jump. And then all of the lights shut down, and the last thing you see is it shows a shot out. And so you have the Discovery on one side and the Section 31 ship on the other. And the Discovery completely powers down and even dips a little bit. And that's the last thing you see. Maybe it pans over, showing the Discovery dead in the water, and then you see the NCC 1031 on that ship. That would be very interesting. That would get me very curious about where they're going with that. And they don't even say it's Section 31. They just do that. Man, there is so much potential with this series that you could do. I mean, I get it. Hindsight is 50-50. So I can look back and see all of the issues they had. And of course, if we're being fair, they had to deal with a ton of real life stuff, right? Turn that down. Is it at 10?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so I'm not sensitive to that. I am sensitive to that, but I don't know. Nah, there's something already that bad in Power Ranger. There's a season called Megaforce, a lot of missed opportunities. One of them being the White Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Ranger Season 2 with its Sin Tiger. After Mighty Morphin, I grew out of Power Rangers. It became very like a kid-like show. But I was a huge Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan. And I watched all of the Mighty Morphins. And then after that, I got out of it. One that brought me back, though, and I watched the entire series because I think it's the most adult Power Rangers. And I think if you liked Power Rangers as a kid or you liked Power Rangers at all, go back because I think you'll like this one. It reminds me of Batman Begins. It's like Batman with a serious tint to it. It's really good. It's really well written. I forget the name of it. It doesn't happen in the Power Rangers Prime universe. A virus was let out and basically destroyed all of the Earth. And it was based, I want to say Turbo, but I don't think it was Turbo. Anthony D, yeah, I've lost a lot of weight. I've actually been working out, gained a lot of muscle, believe it or not. But it was, unless you're making a joke about videos from 10 years ago, and then you can go to hell, Anthony. What was it? So there was this virus that went out. It took over all the computers. The world is now a wasteland. There's only one city that has a shield that protects them. It was the scientist, RPM. I think RPM was it. Yeah. So let me say this. I know I'm Star Trek. I know I'm supposed to talk about sci-fi and ships in space. If you liked Power Rangers as a kid, and you want to see Power Rangers from an adult perspective, then go to RPM. It is like Batman Begins for Mighty Morphin. Now, it's still Power Rangers. You're still going to have schlock. It's still going to be made for 10-year-olds. But it's worth watching. In my opinion. I really like RPM. They'll claim Burnham evolved into an incorporeal, omnipotent, godlike being. She didn't evolve. She already is. She was born an omnipotent god. Anthony, I actually have been losing weight and gaining muscle. So, you know, if you're making fun of me for that, then you've hurt me. And everything I'm going through, Anthony, I can't believe you would attack me that way. I'm a victim. Now I'm going to need a safe space. By the way, all of the outside stuff, what was his name? What is his name? Atop the fourth wall. Atop the fourth wall. Linkara. That's what I'm looking for. Linkara does an absolute wonderful breakdown of RPM and gives some great behind the scenes. Interestingly enough, RPM, from my understanding, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna go there for a minute. RPM was supposed to be an adult theme, and they do well. They did go with that. But what's funny is that RPM, he pitched it as an adult, but they have to use the Sentai. The Sentai that comes with it. They can't skip it or anything like that. And so he had to use what the footage and everything that they had, and it was absolutely nothing like what he wanted to do. And it was awesome. Man. It's just awesome. I don't know where else we were going with that. But yeah, so Time Force. I didn't hate Time Force either. I watched Time Force a little bit. I didn't hate Time Force. Well, and I love during RPM, and you know, I'm losing people watching like crazy because I'm talking about Power Rangers. But the thing I loved about RPM is they made fun of it. They made fun of the fact that they had to use this idiotic Sentai footage. I loved, like, there was a back and forth between the scientist, I'm bad with names, the scientist girl and the geeky guy, and he was like, why are you turn this evil spirit into, like, this character cartoon bird that you're giving us to fight? Why do we have character cartoon birds? And she's like, well, I could turn it back. Would you like it to be the bad guy again? Would you like it to destroy all of Earth? Because I can do that. I can type it in right now and turn it back. I love that they made fun of the fact that they had to use this awful Sentai. But anyway. Well, thank you, Anthony. I was giving you a hard time anyway, man. You and me, we joke with each other. You know how it goes. There was a PR show that really were very dark and mature. They dropped the Kung Fu Camp and went serious. Okay. Let me say this too. If Shattered Grid, you guys should look up Shattered Grid trailer for the Power Rangers. Had that been an actual series and not a stupid comic book, had they actually made a live action series of that, I would have, without hesitation, had a weekly show breaking that down, because Shattered Grid looks awesome. It also, and again, I love the guy who plays Tommy. Was it Jason Lee Garrett? Who plays Tommy on Power Rangers? Jason David Frank. Why did I get Jason Lee Garrett? Jason David Frank. Shattered Grid showed Jason David Frank to be a hypocrite. Love him to death. I do absolutely love him as an actor and as the Green Ranger and then the White Ranger and then whatever other Rangers he became. But when the parody came out, he was all about how, it's too dark and Power Rangers are supposed to be big. I don't like this unlicensed parody. And he pretended like it was because it was dark. And then he does Shattered Grids. Are you kidding me, brother? Are you kidding me? Again, I like him. I've met him. He's a good guy. But did you see the battle between Tommy from Power Rangers and Zex Marquis from Gundam Wing? No. Saban didn't have the balls to do the Jason David Frank was up to it. Yeah, they should have went with it. I mean, I would watch it and I would break it down. Absolutely. It would be prominent on this channel. Shattered Grid looks excellent. And it's a great concept. I'm not going to read comic books, though. That's just not my thing. Anyway, so we're going to be ending this pretty soon. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about? Anything to go over? I got a video to work on. Hopefully get out today. Maybe not. We'll see. Oh, Lord. But thank you, Anthony. Yeah, I've been working out. I work out every day now. And actually, believe it or not, I've got all kinds of muscle mass here, which is pretty cool. Not that anybody here cares. I know you guys watch for my physique, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I said a long time ago I was going to start doing Stargate lore and never did it. That's why I don't answer that. I need to do that, though. B5 is definitely going to happen. By the way, we're watching poll. If you guys haven't voted, definitely go here, because by the end of the month, whatever's winning, and it looks like it's going to be Babylon 5, if you don't want it to be Babylon 5, you need to get more people voting for the poll, because I'll be doing that till the end of the year. Do you think Star Trek would gain more popularity if they continue the theme of insurrection at the beginning? The Federation is dying, like the Sona said. Maybe. The sad truth is I don't know that the Star Trek of old, and this is as Wings of Redemption would say, real talk. I don't know that the Star Trek of old could work now. I don't know that Deep Space Nine could work. I definitely think TNG and TOS wouldn't work at all. And I fear for it to continue, they do have to be like Discovery. And so I do think that maybe the insurrection, maybe the dying of the Federation, a civil war, things like that, may be what's required for Star Trek to continue. And I question that, if that's the way it should go, or if Star Trek should be let to die. Because the question becomes, if they're trying to revitalize Star Trek, and this is what Star Trek has to be for it to continue, should it continue? I don't know. Babylon 5 is on Prime. Been rewatching it. Yeah, that's how I'm going to be able to do it. It's because it's on Prime. 90 Lancaster. I don't mind at all if he does B5 alert. Are you guys saying that you don't like me? Yeah, so here's the thing, guys. A lot of people get confused. They think that this channel is a Star Trek channel. This channel was never created or made with it in mind that it's going to be a Star Trek only channel. In fact, when I first created it, I intended it to be mainly Star Wars. Star Trek is what keeps me going. It's what pays the bill. It keeps these lights on. But I intend to do more than that. I don't think it's sustainable to be only Star Trek. So if people get upset because I do anything outside of Star Trek, well, you don't know what the channel is about. You haven't been here long enough. And so the channel is more than Star Trek. And the channel is going to continue to move outside. And in fact, if you like the fact, and I've said this before, and I'm going to be doing a Patreon video at some point, but if you guys like me expanding outside of Star Trek, or you have specific aspects of Star Trek you want me to see, or want me to talk about, the best ways to do that is to support me on Patreon. The more I can rely on Patreon, the less I can rely on YouTube's algorithm, Google's algorithm, the more I can expand and explore. So that's just the way it is. But if you think this is going to be a Star Trek only channel, you got the wrong channel. For a couple of reasons. First off, Star Trek only I think is too much, and I don't think it's sustainable. And more importantly, above all of that, is that the channel is meant to be with my cadence, what I enjoy doing, what I enjoy talking about, having a conversation with nerds. And I feel like I can't just be on Star Trek because I don't feel like we can have a good conversation that way.
Sir? The last thing I expected.
Wow, that's the clip they use. I feel like we can't have a good conversation if we only look at one aspect of humanity. And I think that looking at multiple genres, multiple series allows us to have a better and more in-depth conversation. I'm not a huge fan of Farscape, and I think Farscape is very inconsistent. That's why. Yeah, Laughable Larry, that's what I'm going to do. This is going to be Voyager only. Going forward, nothing but Voyager, baby. Voyager until the cows come home, good buddies. Alright guys, I want to thank you so much. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.